The first time Kang Doyun heard Nia Saye's voice, he was bleeding on a marble floor. The second time, he ordered security to remove her from his hospital room. And the third time, he saw the scar on her wrist. That was when the most powerful family in Seoul stopped breathing. Because the scar was not an accident. It was not a childhood injury. It was the mark of a promise made far from Korea, broken in Seoul, and buried under 25 years of money, silence, and fear. Before that night, Nia was only the black night nurse the hospital treated like a mistake. After that night, she became the woman one family wanted gone, one man could not forget, and one dead mother had been waiting to vindicate. But the truth did not arrive gently. It came through a poisoned air, a locked hospital archive, a necklace hidden inside a suitcase, and a Korean mother who would rather destroy a woman than let her son learn what their fortune had been built on. This is the story of the nurse they threw out of the room, and the scar that forced a Mafia family to kneel. At 2:13 in the morning, Nia Saye was the only nurse awake on the 12th floor of Mirai International Hospital. The floor was reserved for people whose names did not appear on normal appointment lists. Ministers, actors, shipping heirs, men who arrived with bodyguards and left through private elevators, women whose diamonds were brighter than the hospital lights. Nia had worked there for 9 months, long enough to know which patients smiled at staff and which ones saw nurses as furniture. She had also worked there long enough to learn the rule no one printed in the employee handbook. On the 12th floor, rich pain mattered more than poor pain. If a wealthy patient coughed, 3 doctors ran. If a cleaner fainted, someone told her to rest in the supply room. Nia hated that rule. She hated it quietly. Quietly was how she survived. She had come to Korea from her hometown with a scholarship, 2 suitcases, and the kind of hope that makes a person believe hard work can soften any country. Her mother, Mariam, had packed 1 suitcase with clothes and the other with warnings. Do not shrink your voice. Do not let anyone make your skin an apology. Do not forget that a person can be kind and still be dangerous. Nia remembered all of them, especially the last one, because in Korea, danger rarely came shouting. Sometimes it came smiling with paperwork. Sometimes it came in a manager's soft voice. Sometimes it came as a compliment that left a bruise. You speak Korean so well. You are so strong. You are different from what I expected. She learned to smile, bow, and move on. But her hands never forgot the truth. Her hands were made for saving people, even when those people did not think she belonged in the room. That night, she was updating medication charts when the private elevator opened. It did not ding like the other elevators. It whispered. The doors slid apart, and 6 men in black suits stepped out first. They moved like a wall. Behind them came an older woman in a cream coat, her hair pinned into a perfect knot, her face sharper than the jewelry at her throat. Nia knew her before anyone said her name. Madam Kang, chairwoman of Kang Global, owner of half the shipping routes people whispered about, and the private donor behind the hospital's newest wing. Behind Madam Kang, 2 bodyguards carried a man between them. His white shirt was soaked near the ribs. His left hand hung loose. His head tilted forward, black hair falling over a face Nia had seen on financial news screens in the nurses' lounge. Kang Doyun, the son, the heir, the man every article called untouchable. Untouchable men bled like everyone else. Nia dropped the chart and ran. Treatment room 3, she said in Korean. Now. One of the guards blocked her. Move aside, he snapped. Nia looked at the blood dripping onto the floor. He has maybe 8 minutes before shock takes over. If you want him alive, move. The guard froze. Madam Kang's eyes moved from Nia's face to her badge. For 1 second, her expression changed. It was not surprise. It was recognition. Then, it disappeared. Where is Dr. Yoon? Madam Kang asked. On call, Nia said. 10 minutes away. Then, call someone else. No. The corridor went still. No one said no to Madam Kang. Nia did. If we wait for someone else, Nia said, your son dies in your arms. Madam Kang stared at her. Then Doyun coughed blood onto his shirt. The mother stepped aside. Nia took command. She did not ask whose son he was. She did not ask what kind of blade had cut him. She did not ask why a billionaire heir was brought through a private elevator with no police and no ambulance record. She only saw the pulse fading under her fingers. And she worked. Doyun opened his eyes at 5:46. The first thing he saw was a ceiling light. The second was Nia's face. She stood beside his bed, checking the monitor, her curls tied back, her dark blue scrubs marked with a thin line of dried blood near the sleeve. His blood. For 3 seconds, he watched her without speaking. Then he said, "Who are you?" His voice was low, rough, and annoyed that it had to exist. "Nurse Saye," Nia said. "Where is Dr. Yoon?" "Sleeping badly, I hope. He arrived after we stabilized you." Doyun tried to move and failed. Pain folded across his face. Nia pressed a hand lightly against his shoulder. "Do not sit up." His eyes moved to her hand, then to her face. "Take your hand off me." Nia removed it. She had heard worse. Pain made people cruel. Power made people worse. "You lost blood," she said. "Your pressure is stable now. You need rest." I asked where the doctor is, and I answered. The corner of his mouth tightened. He was used to people making themselves smaller around him. Nia had no interest in becoming smaller. The door opened. Madam Kang entered with 2 men, and Dr. Yoon behind her. Dr. Yoon looked exhausted and embarrassed. Madam Kang looked untouched by the night. Her coat was clean. Her lipstick had not moved. Only her eyes showed the truth. They had not rested. "Leave us," she said. Nia checked the IV line. "I need to finish the chart. Now." The room tightened again. Doyun watched both women. Nia looked at Dr. Yoon. He looked away. That was the first insult. Not Madam Kang's voice. Not Doyun's coldness. Dr. Yoon's silence. He knew Nia had saved the man in that bed. He knew she had acted faster than anyone. He knew the chart would carry his signature by morning. And he still looked away. Nia closed the chart. "Monitor his fever," she said. "The wound was too clean for a street attack. If there was toxin on the blade, fever will come first." Madam Kang's eyes sharpened. "Toxin? It is possible." Doyun gave a dry laugh. "A nurse with theories." Nia turned to him. "A patient with a punctured rib should breathe less arrogance." For the first time, his expression changed. Almost amusement. Almost. Madam Kang did not find it funny. "You may go," she said. Nia bowed once and walked out. In the corridor, the morning shift had started to arrive. By noon, everyone knew Kang Doyun had been admitted. By 2, everyone knew Nia had treated him. By 4, the story had already changed. Dr. Yoon had saved him. Madam Kang had acted calmly. The hospital had responded perfectly. Nia's name did not appear in the internal memo. She read it on her break and smiled without showing teeth. Then she folded the paper and put it in her locker. She had learned years ago that stolen credit still left fingerprints. One day, she told herself, fingerprints matter. She did not know that day was already coming. At 11:18 that night, Doyun's fever reached 40 degrees. By 11:25, he was shaking. By 11:31, Dr. Yoon had ordered the wrong antibiotic. Nia stood at the medication station and read the order twice. The drug would not kill him. That was the problem. It would delay the right treatment long enough for whatever poison was inside him to finish its work. She walked into the treatment room without permission. Dr. Yoon was adjusting the IV. Madam Kang stood near the window. Doyun lay in bed, pale and sweating, his breath coming in short cuts. "Stop the antibiotic," Nia said. Dr. Yoon turned. "Excuse me?" "Stop it. Nurse Saye, leave this room. His fever pattern is wrong, his wound margin is blue, his pupils are uneven. The signs point away from infection. Madam Kang stepped forward. Then what is it? Nia looked at Doyun. His eyes were half open, but he was listening. Aconite derivative, maybe mixed with anticoagulant. Something designed to look like wound shock. Dr. Yoon scoffed. You diagnosed that from the doorway? I diagnosed it because my mother treated cases like this back home, when herbal poisonings were misused in family disputes. The symptoms are there. The room went quiet. Madam Kang's face changed again at the words back home. Nia saw it. This time, she did not ignore it. Doyun's hand jerked against the sheet. His heart monitor spiked. Nia moved to the crash cart. Dr. Yoon grabbed her wrist. You touch that medication, and I will report you. Nia looked down at his hand. The sleeve of her scrub shifted. For 1 second, the inside of her left wrist showed. A pale curved scar crossed the skin. Not long, not ugly, but distinct. Like the shape of a crescent cut into dark earth. Madam Kang saw it. The color left her face. She whispered something so softly that only Nia heard. Impossible. Dr. Yoon was still holding Nia's wrist. She pulled free. Report me after he survives. Then she administered the first dose. The room exploded. Dr. Yoon shouted. One guard moved toward her. Madam Kang raised a hand, and the guard stopped. Nia watched the monitor. 10 seconds. 20. 30. Doyun's pulse stuttered, then steadied. His breathing deepened. The fever did not break immediately, but it stopped climbing. Nia exhaled. Dr. Yoon looked at the monitor and said nothing. Madam Kang looked at Nia's wrist. Doyun looked at Nia's face. 3 people in the room had seen the same thing. Only one of them understood it. Madam Kang. And she looked terrified. At 7 o'clock the next morning, Nia was called into conference room B. That was how hospitals punished people with clean hands. They did not shout in hallways. They offered chairs. They used words like protocol and concern. Inside the room sat Dr. Yoon, the nursing director, one legal officer, and Madam Kang. Madam Kang had no official reason to be there. Her money was reason enough. Nia did not sit. The nursing director cleared her throat. Nurse Saye, there was an unauthorized medication event last night. There was a poisoning event last night. Dr. Yoon leaned back. You are not qualified to make that determination. The patient responded to the antidote. Correlation is not permission. Nia looked at him. Death is not protocol. The legal officer wrote something down. Madam Kang watched silently. Her eyes had not left Nia's wrist since the night before. Finally, she spoke. Where did you get that scar? The room shifted. Dr. Yoon frowned. The nursing director blinked. Nia looked at Madam Kang. Excuse me? Your wrist. Nia lowered her hand. Childhood accident. What kind? The kind that does not belong in a disciplinary meeting. For a moment, Madam Kang's mouth tightened. Then she smiled. It was the coldest smile Nia had ever seen. You are right. She turned to the nursing director. The hospital cannot keep staff who endanger private patients. The director swallowed. Madam Kang, the internal review has not. My family funds this floor. No one spoke after that. Nia understood. The decision had arrived before she entered the room. The meeting was only decoration. The nursing director pushed an envelope across the table. Paid suspension, pending review. Nia looked at the envelope. No. Dr. Yoon laughed once. No? If you suspend me for saving a patient, write that in the letter. Nurse Saye. Write it. The legal officer stopped writing. Nia placed her badge on the table. If you want my silence, you will need a better envelope. She turned to leave. Madam Kang's voice followed her. Korea can be lonely for foreign women who confuse pride with protection. Nia stopped at the door. She could have answered. She could have said what her mother would have said. Instead, she looked back at the woman who had tried to erase her with one sentence. Loneliness is easier than debt. Then she walked out. In the hallway, staff looked away. some with shame, some with relief that it was not them. One cleaner, Mrs. Bay, touched Nia's arm as she passed. "You saved him," the older woman whispered. That was all. 3 words. But after a room full of lies, 3 honest words felt like water. Nia went to her locker. She changed out of her scrubs. She took the folded memo from the day before. She took her mother's small brass pendant from the inside pocket of her bag. It was shaped like a bird with its wings half open. Mariam had given it to her the night before she left home. "If Korea ever feels too cold," her mother had said, "hold this and remember you come from heat." Nia closed her fist around it. Then she left Mireille International Hospital through the staff exit. She did not know Kang Doyun had woken up asking for her. She did not know his mother lied. And she did not know a man in a black car followed her all the way home. Nia lived in a 1-room apartment above a closed stationery shop in Mongwon. The stairs smelled like rain, old paper, and someone's dinner. It was not beautiful, but it was hers. That night, she sat on the floor, still wearing her coat, and listened to the city move outside her window. At 10:42, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She ignored it. It buzzed again. Then a message appeared. "Gul, text you left before I could thank you." Nia stared at the screen. Another message came. Text, "This is Kang Doyun." She almost laughed. Rich men had a talent for turning gratitude into inconvenience. She typed, "Text, you can thank me by telling your mother to stop ending careers." The typing dots appeared. Stopped. Appeared again. Text. "She said you resigned." Nia's smile disappeared. "Of course she did." Nia typed. Text. "Your mother lies elegantly." No response came for 3 minutes. Then, text, "Open your door." Nia stood so fast the pendant fell from her lap. Someone knocked. Once. Not loud, not uncertain. She walked to the door and looked through the peephole. Kang Doyun stood in the hallway wearing a black coat over hospital clothes. He looked paler than before. He also looked like a man who had escaped people paid to keep him in bed. Nia opened the door a chain's width. "Are you insane?" "Probably. You should be in a hospital." "The hospital lied to me." "So you came to my apartment?" "You gave me poison medicine." "Antidote. The same difference if you are wrong. You are standing here, so I was not wrong." For the first time, Doyun smiled. It was small, tired, and irritatingly handsome. Nia hated that she noticed. "May I come in?" "No." He looked down the stairwell. "Someone followed me." "That sounds like your lifestyle problem." "Someone followed you too." Nia's hand tightened on the door. Doyun saw the change in her face. "Black sedan," he said. "No plates. Stopped across from the shop." Nia looked past him. The stairwell was empty. "Why would someone follow me?" "That is what I want to know." He swayed slightly. Nia cursed under her breath and opened the door. 5 minutes. He stepped inside. The room felt smaller immediately. He was tall, yes, but that was not why the room changed. Because some people carried rooms with them. Boardrooms, back rooms, rooms where decisions were made before ordinary people heard the question. Doyun looked around without judgment. That surprised her. Men like him usually hid judgment behind silence. He saw the tea kettle, the folded laundry, the nursing textbooks, the bright African print cloth hanging over the chair, and the brass pendant on the floor. His eyes stopped on the pendant. "Where did you get that?" Nia picked it up quickly. "My mother." "May I see it?" "No." "The symbol?" "No." Doyun looked at her wrist. The sleeve had shifted again. The scar showed. His expression changed. "My mother asked about that." "Your mother asks questions like knives." She was afraid. Nia went still. "Afraid? I have seen my mother angry. I have seen her disappointed. I have seen her negotiate with men twice her size and make them look like children. Last night, when she saw your wrist, she was afraid." Nia said nothing. Doyun stepped closer. "What is it?" "A scar." From what? A childhood accident. You said that already. Then listen better. The room fell quiet. Outside, a motorbike passed. Doyun touched the edge of the table to steady himself. His face had gone gray. Nia moved before pride could stop her. Sit down. I am fine. You are sweating through a 3,000,001 coat. 4. Congratulations. Sit. He sat. She checked his pulse. His skin was too cold. You walked out with an active toxin load. I needed answers. You needed a doctor. I found the nurse who saved me. That line should have softened her. It annoyed her instead. You do not get to insult me in the hospital and compliment me in my apartment. He looked up. You are right. The apology was so direct she did not know where to put it. I was rude, he said. You were cruel. I was cruel. He accepted the correction without defending himself. That was new. Nia opened her mouth, then closed it. He reached into his coat and placed a folded paper on the table. This is your suspension letter. She looked at it. How did you get that? My mother signs too many things with the same pen. Nia unfolded it. The language was careful. Unauthorized treatment. Risk to patient. Pending final review. At the bottom was a line she had not seen. Due to concerns regarding immigration sponsorship, continued employment may no longer be viable. For a moment, the room tilted. Her job sponsored her visa. Without it, Korea could close around her like a fist. Doyun watched her read. I can fix that. Nia looked up slowly. Do not make promises with your mother's money. I am not my mother. Everyone says that before they become their parents. The line landed harder than she expected. Doyun looked away. For 1 second, the powerful heir looked young. Then his phone rang. He checked the screen and went still. The caller ID showed one word, Mother. He did not answer. A message arrived instead. Text. Leave her apartment now. Nia read it over his shoulder. Neither of them spoke. Then a sound came from outside. A car door closing. Workinen stood too quickly and nearly fell. Nia grabbed his arm. Another message came. Text. Before she remembers. Nia's blood went cold. Remembers what? She whispered. Doyun looked at her wrist, then at the pendant in her hand. For the first time since he entered, he looked afraid too. Doyun did not leave through the front door. He called someone named Jisoo, a driver with a voice like gravel and the patience of a man who had survived too many family emergencies. 10 minutes later, Nia found herself in the back of a black van with a feverish billionaire air, a brass pendant in her coat pocket, and no idea whether she had just been rescued or kidnapped. Where are we going? She asked. Hospital archive, Doyun said. Absolutely not. There is a restricted record room under the old wing. That sounds like the beginning of a crime. My family owns the building. That sounds like the middle of a crime. Jisoo glanced at her in the rearview mirror. For the first time that night, someone laughed. Doyun did not. My mother knows you, he said. I have never met her before yesterday. Maybe she knew your mother. Nia's hand went to the pendant. Miriam had never talked much about Korea. Only that she had worked there briefly before Nia was born. Only that some countries teach you the cost of being too trusting. Only that Nia should never accept help from a person who wants her silence in exchange. My mother was a nurse, Nia said. She worked in clinics, not with people like yours. People like mine usually need nurses. She looked at him. That was almost self-awareness. He leaned his head back against the seat. Do not get used to it. The old wing of Mireille Hospital had been closed for renovation for years. At least, that was what the signs said. Jisoo drove through a service entrance and parked near a freight elevator. Doyun stepped out and nearly collapsed. Nia caught him again. You are impossible. You keep saying that while holding me upright. Professional habit. You are suspended. Moral habit. He looked at her then. Something passed between them. Small. Dangerous. Nia looked away first. The archive room smelled like dust, metal shelves, and secrets that had learned to breathe without light. Doyun entered a code. The keypad flashed red. He tried again. Red. Jisoo stepped forward, removed the panel with a pocket tool, and crossed 2 wires. The door clicked open. Nia stared at him. Jisoo shrugged. Driving is a broad profession. Inside, rows of boxes stretched into darkness. Doyun went to a cabinet marked Legacy Donor Cases, 1998 to 2004. Why there? Nia asked. The new wing was built after a private donation in 2001, my father's first major public project. What does that have to do with me? I do not know yet. He pulled open a drawer. Files sat in neat rows, each labeled with dates and numbers. Then Nia saw it. One folder had no label. No date. No name. Only a symbol stamped in faded blue ink. A bird with half-open wings. The same shape as her pendant. Nia reached for it. Doyun stopped her. Wait! Move your hand. If my mother buried this, she had a reason. Then I have a better one. He moved. Nia opened the file. Inside was a photograph. 2 women stood outside the old hospital entrance. One was young Madam Kang, 25 years younger but unmistakable. The other was Madam Saye, Nia's mother. She wore a nurse's uniform, her hair wrapped in blue cloth, one hand resting over her stomach. Pregnant. Nia stopped breathing. Behind the photo was a medical report. Emergency delivery. Female infant. Left wrist laceration during glass collapse. Mother discharged against medical advice. Infant transferred. Transferred where? The line had been blacked out. Nia's fingers shook. No, she whispered. Doyun read over her shoulder. His face hardened. There is more. The next page was a settlement agreement. Madam Saye agreed never to contact Kang Global, Mirai Hospital, or the Kang family regarding the incident of April 17th. The payment amount was blank. The signature at the bottom was not Miriam's. Nia knew her mother's handwriting. This was not it. Someone had forged it. At the back of the file was a cassette tape in a plastic sleeve. On the sleeve, someone had written 2 words in English. If she returns. Nia touched the tape as if it might burn her. Doyun's phone rang again. Mother. This time he answered. He put it on speaker. Madam Kang's voice filled the archive. You should not be there. Doyun looked around slowly. Then you know where I am. Bring me the file. Nia's hand closed around the folder. Doyun looked at her. Then he spoke into the phone. What did you do to her mother? For the first time, Madam Kang had no immediate answer. Then she said, I saved this family. Nia stepped closer to the phone. From what? Silence. Then Madam Kang's voice changed. It became softer. Worse. From you. The line went dead. They played the tape in Doyun's car. Jisoo drove without asking questions. Doyun sat in the front passenger seat because his fever had returned. Nia sat in the back with the cassette recorder on her knees. At first, there was only static. Then her mother's voice filled the car. You could lose someone twice. Once to death, once to a secret. Nia had lost her mother to death 3 years earlier. Hearing Miriam's voice in a moving car under Seoul's sleeping towers felt like losing her again. Miriam sounded younger. Tired, afraid, but steady. She said she had come to Korea as part of a private medical exchange. She said Kang Global was funding clinics abroad while building its hospital reputation in Seoul. She said the program looked generous from the outside. Inside, it was a machine. Poor patients became photographs. Foreign nurses became proof of global kindness. Money moved through charity accounts and returned wearing clean clothes. Miriam had discovered the records. Not rumors. Records. Shipments labeled as medical aid that never reached clinics. Expired drugs counted as donations. Emergency funds diverted through shell companies. And when she tried to report it, the old chairman called her ungrateful. Madam Kang, then only the chairman's daughter-in-law, asked for one meeting. Miriam went because she believed another woman might listen. Instead, the meeting became a trap. Men came. There was shouting. Glass broke. Miriam was pushed against a cabinet. She went into early labor. The baby was born in the old hospital wing during a storm. Nia. The scar came from the glass. Miriam said a Korean doctor wanted to separate mother and child. She said Madam Kang stood in the doorway holding the newborn for 1 minute too long. Then came the part that made Nia press a hand over her mouth. Doyun, listen carefully. Nia froze. Her mother had said his name. On the tape, Miriam continued. You were only 6 years old when I saved you from the West Garden pool. You were not breathing. Your mother saw me bring you back. She promised I would always have protection in Korea. That promise ended when I found the accounts. Doyun turned slowly in the front seat. His face had gone empty. He remembered nothing. Children rarely remember the hand that pulls them out of water. They remember the coughing, the cold, the mother crying later. Miriam's voice grew weaker. If my daughter ever returns, they will know her by the scar and by the bird. I named her Nia because I wanted her to walk with purpose. I took her home because Korea was no longer safe. If this tape is found, it means I was right to run. Static swallowed the next sentence. Then Miriam's voice returned one last time. Do not let them make her feel small. The tape clicked off. No one spoke. Seoul moved around them, bright and indifferent. Nia wiped her face angrily. She hated crying in front of powerful people. Doyun's voice came from the front seat. Your mother saved my life. Nia laughed once, bitter and broken. So did I. Your family has a pattern. He closed his eyes. I am sorry. Do not say sorry for a crime you did not commit. I inherited the house built over it. That line stayed in the car. Jisoo kept driving. Finally, he said, Where now? Nia looked at the file in her lap. A police station? Doyun shook his head. My mother owns half the men who answer those phones. Then, media. They will call it a foreign nurse's revenge story and bury it under defamation. Nia looked at him. Then what do rich people fear? Doyun opened his eyes. Public shareholders. Good. Board meeting is in 6 days. Better. He turned in his seat despite the pain. You understand what happens if we walk into that room? Nia looked at the scar on her wrist. For years, she had treated it like a small line from a forgotten accident. Now it felt like a door. I walked into your hospital, she said. I walked into your archive. I can walk into a boardroom. Doyun looked at her for a long moment. Then he said, They will try to destroy you. Nia held her mother's pendant. They already tried. Madam Kang did not wait 6 days. She invited Nia to the top floor of the Kang Meridian Hotel the next afternoon. Invite was a beautiful word for a threat delivered by a driver. Nia went because fear grows in darkness. She wanted to see the woman in full light. The suite overlooked the Han River. Everything inside was cream, gold, and quiet enough to make a person hear their own heartbeat. Madam Kang sat by the window with tea already poured. You came alone, she said. You expected me to bring witnesses? I expected you to bring anger. I packed light. Madam Kang's mouth twitched, almost a smile. Your mother had that same tongue. Nia sat across from her. You knew my mother. Yes. You forged her signature. Madam Kang looked at the river. Your mother was stubborn. That is not an answer. It is the reason. Nia almost stood. Madam Kang slid an envelope across the table. Another envelope. Korean Power loved paper. Inside is a visa solution, a nursing position at a private clinic in Canada, housing for 1 year, and enough money to begin again. Nia did not touch it. And the price? You leave Korea. You do not contact my son. You forget the file. My mother tried to expose you. Your mother tried to destroy a family she did not understand. You stole medical aid. Madam Kang's eyes snapped back to her. The old chairman stole. Men stole. I contained the damage. By erasing the woman who found it? By keeping the company alive? Nia stared at her. There it was. Not guilt. Arithmetic. One foreign nurse against thousands of employees. One forged signature against a hospital wing. One mother's fear against a family name. Madam Kang had not buried the truth because she thought she was evil. She had buried it because she thought she was practical. That made her more dangerous. "Why did you say you saved the family from me?" Nia asked. Madam Kang's expression hardened. "Because Doyun looks at you the way his father looked at danger." Nia went still. "This has nothing to do with romance. It always does when men want to become noble. Your son came to me because you lied. My son came to you because he is injured, guilty, and fascinated by defiance." The words cut more than Nia wanted to admit. Madam Kang leaned forward. "He will choose you for a week, maybe a month. Then he will return to the family he was born to lead. You will be left with enemies and no country." Nia stood. "You keep confusing me with women who need your son to become real." Madam Kang's face tightened. "Be careful." "No." The word came clean. It surprised them both. Nia picked up the envelope, tore it in half, and placed the pieces back on the table. "You should have been careful when my mother was alive." Madam Kang stood too. The soft mask disappeared. "If you walk into that boardroom, I will make every paper in this country turn against you. Then I will bring paper you did not write." For the first time, Madam Kang looked uncertain. Only for a second. But Nia saw it. The older woman did not know about the tape. That was their one advantage. Nia left the suite with her hands steady and her knees shaking. In the elevator, she allowed herself one breath. Then her phone buzzed. "Doyun. Text, where are you?" She typed. Text, "Your mother tried to buy my exile." His reply came fast. Text, "Did she threaten you?" Nia looked at her reflection in the elevator doors. Text, "She educated me." Then another message came. Not from Doyun. Unknown number. Text, "Your mother was not the only one who recorded that night." Below the text was a photo. A chapel. Old wood. A blue curtain. And behind it, a security camera. The old hospital chapel sat behind the west garden. No one used it anymore. Families preferred private waiting rooms. Rich grief did not like wooden benches. Nia arrived at dusk with Doyun and Jisoo. Doyun should have been resting. He looked like a man held together by painkillers and stubbornness. Nia told him so. He said, "You sound worried." She said, "I sound medically correct." He accepted that with a faint smile. Inside, the chapel smelled like dust and old rain. The stained glass windows had faded at the edges. At the front, a small wooden cross hung slightly crooked. Nia did not know why that detail hurt. Maybe because forgotten holy places look like broken promises. The photo had shown a blue curtain near the side entrance. Behind it, they found a narrow maintenance door. Jisoo opened it with the ease of a man who had once made questionable life choices. Inside was a cramped security room. Most of the equipment was dead. But one old drive sat inside a metal cabinet, wrapped in plastic and labeled with a date. April 17th, 2001. Nia could not touch it. Doyun did. They took it to a small electronics repair shop owned by one of Jisoo's cousins. For 2 hours, Nia sat under fluorescent light and listened to a fan rattle while a young technician coaxed the dead drive back into speech. When the footage finally appeared, there was no sound, only a grainy view of the chapel corridor. Miriam appeared first, pregnant, walking quickly, clutching a file. Behind her came the old chairman, Madam Kang, and 2 men Nia did not know. There was arguing. Miriam held up the file. The chairman grabbed it. Miriam pulled back. One of the men shoved her. She hit the glass cabinet near the wall. The cabinet shattered. Doyun inhaled sharply. Nia stopped breathing. On the screen, young Madam Kang rushed forward. For one wild second, it looked like she was helping. Then she picked up the file from the floor and backed away. Miriam doubled over. Blood appeared on her dress. the old chairman shouted. The men panicked. Madam Kang stood frozen with the file in her hand. Then a small boy ran into frame. Doyun, 6 years old. He saw Mariam on the floor and began screaming. Madam Kang grabbed him, but he fought her. The footage cut. Then another clip appeared, 20 minutes later. Mariam on a stretcher. A newborn wrapped in a hospital blanket. Madam Kang standing by the baby. She reached down and touched the infant's wrist. The camera caught the scar. Then the older chairman leaned toward Madam Kang and said something. There was no sound, but Nia knew a threat when she saw one. Madam Kang looked at the baby, then at Mariam. Then she nodded. The clip ended. No one spoke. The technician looked like he wanted to become invisible. Doyun stood slowly. "Make 3 copies," he said. His voice was calm. Too calm. Nia turned to him. "Doyun." He looked at her. Something in his face had cracked. My mother watched it happen. She was young. She built an empire on the silence after it. Nia could not argue with that. He turned to Jisoo. "Call a special board session." Jisoo nodded. "And my mother?" Doyun looked back at the frozen screen, at the young woman holding the stolen file. "Invite her." The boardroom of Kang Global sat on the 52nd floor, high enough for people inside to believe consequences belonged to smaller buildings. Nia arrived wearing a black dress, low shoes, and her mother's pendant. She had tried on 3 outfits that morning. Nothing looked right. Too formal, and she looked like she was begging their world to approve her. Too casual, and they would call her disrespectful. In the end, she chose simplicity. Mariam had once told her that dignity should never need decoration. Doyun met her outside the elevator. He wore a dark suit and no tie. His face was still pale, but his eyes were clear. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then he said, "You can still walk away." Nia looked at the boardroom doors. That sentence has followed women like me for centuries. I meant it as protection. I know. That was the problem. She did know. He was trying. Trying did not erase the room waiting behind those doors. But it mattered. He opened the door. Every head turned. 12 board members sat around a table long enough to host a treaty. Madam Kang sat at the far end. She looked at Nia's dress, then at the pendant, then at her son. "This is inappropriate," she said. Doyun closed the door. "This family has survived on that sentence." A murmur moved through the table. One director stood. "Mr. Kang, this meeting was called without proper—" "Sit down." The director sat. Doyun walked to the screen. Nia remained near the door. That was where staff usually stood. That was where people waited to be summoned. Doyun noticed. He pulled out the chair beside him. "Here." The room noticed too. Nia sat. Madam Kang's eyes turned to stone. Doyun placed the file on the table. 25 years ago, Kang Global used medical charity accounts to move money through foreign aid programs. The room erupted. Allegation. Ancient history. "What is this?" Doyun raised one hand. A nurse discovered the records. Her name was Nia Saye. Madam Kang did not move. Nia watched her. The woman was good. So good she could have watched a building burn and convinced people the smoke was weather. Doyun continued. Mariam was assaulted in the old hospital wing while pregnant. Her signature was forged. She was forced out of Korea. One board member looked at Nia. "And this woman is?" Nia answered before Doyun could. "Her daughter." The board member's eyes dropped to her skin, her pendant, her hands. "Do you have evidence?" Nia smiled. It was not warm. "I was hoping someone would ask." Jisoo connected the drive. The chapel footage appeared on the screen. At first, the board watched with polite skepticism. Then Mariam entered the frame. Then the shove. Then the glass. Then the blood. Then Madam Kang picking up the file. No one spoke. When the clip ended, the silence was no longer polite. It had teeth. Madam Kang stood. "This footage lacks context." Nia looked at her. "Then give it." Madam Kang turned to the board. The old chairman was unstable. I was 29 years old. I had a child. I had no control over what happened. Doyun's voice cut through the room. You had control afterward. She turned to him. For the first time, Nia saw the mother under the chairwoman. Tired, cornered, still dangerous. I protected you, Madam Kang said. From the woman who saved me? From a scandal that would have destroyed everything your father left. My father left debt, blood, and signatures other people did not write. He left you a name. Doyun looked around the room. Then I am done hiding behind it. One director leaned forward. What exactly are you proposing? Doyun placed another folder on the table. Immediate independent audit, public acknowledgement, compensation fund for the affected clinics, restoration of Nia Saye's employment record, full protection for whistleblowers, and my mother's resignation as chair. The room exploded again. Madam Kang laughed. It was a terrible sound. You think they will choose your guilt over my control? Doyun looked at the board. He knew them. He knew their greed, their caution, their fear of prison, their fear of headlines, their fear of losing access to markets that liked clean charity stories. No, he said. They will choose survival. Nia looked at him then. He had learned from his mother and turned the lesson against her. The vote took 43 minutes. Nia heard every second. When it ended, Madam Kang remained standing. 7 votes against her. 4 abstentions. 1 loyalist who looked like he regretted being brave. Madam Kang had lost, but losing power did not make her harmless. As she walked past Nia, she stopped. He will resent you for this. Nia looked up. No, he will resent you. I am only the witness. Madam Kang's lips trembled. For 1 second, she looked like she might say something human. Then she walked out. The door closed. And the empire she built began to shake. Truth does not arrive like sunrise. It arrives like weather. First pressure, then wind, then damage. By morning, the story had leaked. Kang Global called it an internal governance matter. Journalists called it a charity fraud scandal. Comment sections called Nia everything. Gold digger, hero, foreign troublemaker. Brave nurse, liar, queen. The internet has never known how to hold a woman gently. Murray Hospital issued a statement restoring her employment record. They did not apologize. They expressed regret. Nia printed the statement and placed it beside the old memo in her apartment. 2 papers. One erased her. One tried to sanitize the erasure. Neither said the words that mattered. We were wrong. Doyun came to see her 3 days later. He looked better. Still tired. Still carrying a storm behind his eyes. He brought no bodyguards. No black car. Only a paper bag with tangerines, because Mrs. Bay had told him nurses forget to eat fruit. Nia opened the door and stared at the bag. You brought fruit. I panicked. She almost smiled. Come in. They sat on the floor because she still owned only 1 chair. The city outside was loud, then quiet, then loud again. Doyun peeled a tangerine badly. Nia watched him struggle for a full minute before taking it from him. You run a corporation? Less citrus involved. She peeled it cleanly and handed half back. For a while, they ate in silence. Then he said, My mother left Seoul. Nia nodded. Where? No one knows yet. Do you want to know? He looked at the fruit in his hand. Yes. Honest. Painful. Good. Nia respected honest pain. She is still your mother, she said. She hurt yours. Both can be true. He looked at her. How do you do that? What? Leave room for people who do not deserve it. Nia thought of Miriam. The tape. The scar. The years of silence carried across oceans. I do not leave room for them, she said. I leave room for myself. Hate is a landlord. It charges rent every morning. Doyun looked at her, as if the sentence had entered somewhere private. Then he said, I do not know who I am without the family name. Nia leaned back against the wall. Good. He blinked. Good? Now you can find out before asking anyone to love you. That landed. She saw it. He swallowed. Is that what I was doing? Eventually. And if I asked? Nia looked at him. The answer was not no. That made it more dangerous. She liked the way he listened when he stopped performing power. She liked the way he apologized without decorating it. She liked the way he looked at her scar now, not with fear, but with reverence. But liking was not enough. Her mother had taught her that tenderness without safety becomes another trap. I would tell you to become someone first, she said. Doyun nodded slowly. It hurt him. He did not hide it. And if I try? Then, try quietly. Try where cameras cannot praise you. He smiled faintly. You are very hard to impress. I saved your life twice. You can survive disappointment. This time, he laughed. A real laugh. It startled them both. For the first time, the room felt less like a hiding place. It felt like a beginning that knew better than to rush. 3 months later, Nia returned to the old hospital wing. Not as a nurse. Not as an employee. Not as a scandal. As a daughter. Kang Global had agreed to fund the affected clinics properly under independent oversight. Murray Hospital had opened a scholarship in Madam Saye's name for foreign medical workers. Madam Kang's resignation remained the most replayed clip on Korean business television for 2 weeks. Then, the internet found a new fire. That was the mercy of public attention. It burns hot, then wanders. But some changes stayed. Dr. Yoon resigned before the review board could recommend it. The nursing director sent Nia a private apology. Nia read it once and did not reply. Some apologies are receipts. They prove the debt exists. They do not pay it. Doyun had stepped back from daily control of Kang Global while the audit continued. People called it weakness. People called it strategy. Nia called it necessary. He spent 2 days a week at the clinics connected to the fund. No cameras, no press, no speeches. Jisoo sent Nia proof because Jisoo had decided, without permission, that she deserved updates. The photos were never flattering. Doyun carrying boxes badly. Doyun being scolded by a clinic manager. Doyun sitting with children who looked unimpressed by billionaires. Nia saved every photo. She told herself it was for accountability. Mrs. Bay told her she was a terrible liar. That afternoon, the West Garden was open for the first time in years. The pool where Mariam had saved 6-year-old Doyun had been filled in and replaced with a stone fountain. At the center stood a small bronze bird with half-open wings. Nia stopped walking. Doyun stood beside the fountain. No suit. No guards. Just a dark coat, wind in his hair, and nervousness he had no idea how to hide. You did this? Nia asked. The hospital board approved it. That is not what I asked. Yes. She walked closer. On the stone beneath the bird was an inscription in Korean, English, and her mother's first language. For Madam Saye, who saved lives in rooms that tried to erase her, Nia read it 3 times. The 3rd time, the letters blurred. Doyun did not touch her. He had learned. He waited. When she finally spoke, her voice was rough. My mother would have corrected the grammar. Doyun smiled. I was afraid of that. She would have liked the bird. I hoped so. Nia looked at him. Why did you ask me here? He took a breath. Because I wanted to show you the first thing I built without hiding behind my name. She looked back at the fountain. You built a memorial. I built a reminder. For who? Me, first. That answer mattered. More than flowers. More than speeches. More than a man pretending love had made him pure overnight. He was still learning. So was she. Doyun stepped aside and pointed to a small box on the stone bench. Nia gave him a look. If that is a ring, I will push you into the fountain. He raised both hands. Not a ring. She opened the box. Inside was her hospital badge. Not the old one. A new one. Nia Saye, Clinical Ethics Fellow. Under it was a letter offering her a role designing patient advocacy policy for foreign workers and whistleblowers. Nia read it slowly. You got me a job? No. I got the hospital to create the role it should have had before you. You can reject it. Good. Good? You are learning. He laughed softly. Then his face became serious. There is something else. Doyun. Still not a ring. He reached into his coat and took out a small envelope. Inside was a photograph, the restored version of the old picture from the archive. Young Miriam outside the hospital, young Madam Kang beside her. At the edge of the frame, almost cut out, a little boy with wet hair held Miriam's hand. Doyun. On the back, someone had written in Miriam's handwriting, he lived. That was all. He lived. Nia pressed the photo to her chest. For years, she had carried a scar with no story. Now the story had names, dates, footage, witnesses, and a fountain in a garden that had once swallowed the truth. But the final gift was smaller. A mother's handwriting, proof that before everything went wrong, Miriam had saved a child and considered that enough to write down. Doyun stood quietly. Nia looked at him through tears. You found this? In my father's old desk. Why give it to me? Because your mother kept me alive. The least I can do is stop keeping pieces of her. Nia closed her eyes. The wind moved through the garden. For a moment, she imagined Miriam there, adjusting the inscription, complaining about the cold, pretending not to cry. When Nia opened her eyes, Doyun was still waiting. Ask me again, she said. He blinked. Ask you what? The question you were going to ask before I threatened the fountain. His smile came slowly. Dinner. That was not the question. It is the question I am brave enough to ask today. Nia laughed. It came out wet and surprised. Good answer. Is that a yes? She looked at the bronze bird, then at the man who had lost a throne and found a spine. Dinner, she said. One dinner. One dinner, he agreed. No bodyguards. Jisoo will be offended. Jisoo can eat somewhere else. Behind them, near the garden gate, Jisoo sneezed loudly enough to reveal he had been pretending not to listen. Nia shook her head. Doyun sighed. He is a broad professional. This time, Nia laughed without pain. And under the bronze bird, in the garden where one woman had once saved a boy and lost her country, her daughter chose the first small piece of a future. The past had not become gentle, because the truth had finally learned how to stand in daylight. If you were Nia, would you forgive the man who inherited the secret, or would you walk away from the whole family forever? Tell me in the comments. And if you want the next Afro-Korean story, subscribe for more.